the one.
We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the history of Action Vision. This is kind of sequential, I think. And so, um, like there, this is the third in the series, and it's kind of set up to where if there's any questions. Um, so I'm not a real big storyteller. I don't like telling stories. They seem kind of silly, goofy to me. Um, Plus, it seems like old people tell stories. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying. And so, definitely not that. Um, and so, I don't know. Like, the whole purpose of this is to give people an appreciation for Action Vision. Like, like the blood, sweat, and tears, and how it was put in place, and why it was, and all the different nuances. I was going through Kenny's, and then Jason's, and then Nora's recently. And it's like, man, there's a lot of tools and systems. Um, man, there's a lot of them in there. It's just crazy. So when we say there's things, you know, nobody can use all of Action all the time. There's parts that you use now that you won't use later, you will use later, you won't use now. And that's where the coaching comes into play. And so, um, so I could talk. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many things I could talk about, but I think like the goal is for every new person joining as an EVA or an LP, maybe a VA, to go through this and go, dang, that's that's crazy. I mean, that's absolutely crazy what Mark went through or what's been invested or and I don't even remember like I don't remember like the pieces here. So I don't want to cover things again unless of course it needs to be covered more than once because I'm not communicating while our people aren't listening. And so, do any of you have any questions on Action Vision? Do you guys want to hear stories of? I mean, we shared this story, I think, last time about my mom, and it's weird. To me, it's just strange. Like when I asked Nora, like I asked Jason, you know, like, what do you admire most about me, or what do you think the most about, or whatever? And he said, the massive amount of quantity of work that you do. Like, it's just, you're just, you're a machine in how much work you put out in everything. Kenny, I asked him, and he said, your knowledge. It's like you have knowledge on like everything, like every topic, like everything. Um, and Nora said, how intentional you are. And so, back when I was a 19-year-old boy, and my mom said that, um, I'm concerned that you're going to be a workaholic. I mean, that really went deep into my heart. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. And I'm not, this is what I thought. I said, I'm not going to be given the room my dad was because I'm not a pastor. So, I mean, if your dad's a pastor, well, he's doing God's work. When you're a business guy, nobody's going to say, "Oh, you're doing God's work." And so I really wanted to be like an amazing husband, an amazing dad, like crazy. I mean, there could be things on like the business, like we went years, over 10 years without the business or without the 530 grid. Probably 15 years, I'm guessing, without the 530 grid. And then one day, like this is where I was telling Nora on the large laminated plan, I asked 1 to 10, how would you rate? This is something good for you guys because you want to find out, ugh, like you want to find out from your clients what it takes to be a 10. You want to find, so 1 to 10, how would you rate, how would you rate Action Vision? They're like an 8. And what would it take to get to a 10? To have a big colored copy of the Action Vision plan I could put on the wall. And then boom, it happened because of that suggestion. And so you want to be a 10 in everything. Like, why would you want to be anything less than 10? Like, I want to be a 10 as a husband. I want to be a 10 as a father. I want to be a 10 as a grandfather. I want to be a 10 as a friend. Like, it's just cool to be not perfect, to be flawless, less flawed. Like, I just had an epiphany this last week where, Job was not, he wasn't perfect. He was blameless, less blame. Like every day he's getting better. Like Nora and I were talking about this, about growing and how important it is to continue to grow and not ever stop. Always seek to have more. And so the 530 grid was born from asking 1 to 10s. And he said, it's an 8. And I said, what would it take to get to a 10? He said, put everything on one page, all of your IP on one page, like everything. Like, I thought he was joking. Like, he can't be serious. Came back the next month because we were only doing coaching once a month then. And came back the next month. And I said, what would it take to get to, where are we at? And he said, an 8. And I said, what would it take to get to a 10? He says, I told you last month. I'm like, everything on one page? He's like, yeah. I'm like, really? And then I went home that night, went to sleep, and bam, next morning came up and, 530 grid, bam, right there. Like, it's like, so this used to be Micrographic Designer. It's a very old system, but it was like, so this is where I put all my IP. Because and so I built this like I built the 530 grid based on a client telling us what to do. And then I don't know what it was, 3, 4, 5 years after Action Vision. Maybe it was longer than that. It could have been 10. It was a while. And it's like our sales cycle was like all of this. This went back when I was 24 years old. There's actually something, I just saw this. Elise just gave me it. It's really, really cool. It's like, there's something that's called, I don't know, it should have a better name because it's kind of, I don't know, seems a little arrogant. So I don't know. I don't care. But it's called Mark's Brain. Like, what a stupid name. But it goes through a lot of these natural laws that, like, this goes back to when I was 24, 25 years old, back here. And I'm like, why do these things happen? Like, why does this stuff happen? Like, I don't understand. Why is stuff happening? And like the business X-ray, I'm like, our sales cycle's getting killed. Like, it's just getting killed. We got to figure out how to go ahead and accelerate it. So I created the business X-ray out of nothing. Like, how cool is that? Like, who does that? Like, who comes up with a business? When you look at all of the different nuance, and that's been like that for over like 30 years. Ooh, it's right here. This is before the 530 grid. This is when, I was 27 years old, I think. So Terraces, which is the board of directors that, that'd be a neat part of the story. Like, you never know. Like, it was neat. It was so cool, so fulfilling when Ginger Ann listened to one of the histories, our oldest daughter. She's like, I never knew that story, Dad. I'm like, right? There's a lot of cool stories. So I was on the board of directors for a computer consulting company, and they bought, and so when I left the mortgage industry and I started Synergy, they had 51% ownership because they didn't think I was smart enough. Well, no, had enough experience, something, whatever, which was fine. They had 3 or 4 more years, so it wasn't like they were 20 years more. But I'm like, well, I don't know. What are you thinking? So they had 51%. I had 49%. I don't think I told this story. This is a great part of the story. And after a year, so Roseanne and I, we had 3 kids at the time. So people ask, what happened between Melissa and Katrina? Like there's a long gap. Like Jonathan and the 3 are pretty tight. And then there's this gap. That's when we started Synergy. like, no, it wasn't because there wasn't a lot going on. There's still a lot going on. I'm just saying that it's like, can we really have another child? And so we started Synergy, and then I'll never forget, like a year into it, we'd burned through almost all of our money. And there were 3 partners, myself, so 4 of us, they owned 51%. At 18 months or 15 months, I think it was, they were going to revert. It was going to switch over. It was going to flip where I would own 51%, they would own 49%. And and then they just quit on me. Like they just quit. I'm 28 years old. And we have like we're out of money, and they just quit. They're just like, we're just done. And so I lost 3/4 of lost the computer programming. I lost which was our first product, which is the Medallion Marketing Series. And then I lost 3/4, 75% of the leadership team, and I lost the financial and everything. I'm like, what? I started crying. I'm like, we can't survive. Like, I can't survive. Everything we put in. And they went to church. 2 of them went to church with us, the husband and wife, Greg and Patty Sutton. Like, just really? So I go home and I tell Rosanna, and she's like, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, I don't know. And then we had like a month left. We had a month left, and we were going to run out of everything, like nothing. And we had we burned through all our reserves, everything. There was no answer. And so there's no answer on it. Like so Roseanne's like, we're like almost out of money. I'm like, right? Like we have a month. Uh-huh. What's your plan? I'm not sure, honey. So I had 4 things that I'm like, okay, but I'd tried 20 things before. Nothing had worked. This is why it's fascinating to me when people say, well, I tried it. It didn't work. How many times? Like, how many times? Like, go to small children. Like, they're relentless. Like, learn from them. They don't quit. Don't be lazy. So I had 4 strategies. Never got to the 4th one. The first 3 worked so good that everything turned around. And one of those companies was Terrace's, Greg and Patty's company, where they contracted with us to go ahead and build a recruiting system. So Tony Davis, the president of Preferred Mortgage Associates. So when I was 23, from 23 to 27, I worked there. And he had his MBA, Master's of Business Administration. So a high level, like a 6-year degree. 6 years to get that typically. And then he worked for Caterpillar all around the world. And he said, Mark, bar none, he says, you are the best recruiter I've ever seen anywhere on the planet. And he lived in Africa and stuff. And so he was on the fast track, which is pretty cool when I look back. Because I look back and I said, I didn't know much of anything. But I was, anyways. So I built this for Terraces when we were doing consulting for them. And this is the recruiting model that I built for them. Ooh, for you Christians, this one right here, this little piece right here actually was built for my dad's church. So the same model that can be used to build a business can be used to build a church or evangelism or anything. Like it's everything. And it's like you look from the bottom up and it spins around and you go ahead and get into the middle and how do you go ahead and get this? This was good. Yeah, this was really good. So all of these have a story. And so I don't know, should we tap into Mark's brain The other piece that I did years ago, like that would be really good for Action Vision. And so sure enough, the business X-ray went ahead. The business X-ray went ahead and reduced, absolutely crushed, it worked. Like, dang, it worked. I can't believe something I tried actually worked. So 3M, a huge worldwide company, 97% of their inventions and what they do don't make money, don't succeed. And so again, people who say, well, this didn't work, it's like, really? You have no stamina. like, like, I mean, the way to build stamina is just do stuff that doesn't work, like me. To do stuff that doesn't work. And you keep going. Like you don't quit. You just keep going forever and ever and ever and ever. So, yeah, that's not it. So I don't know. I need a little focus. I need to know like what you guys want to learn or hear or whatever. Elaine, do you have anything?
Well, this is the first time I've seen a lot of these, so it's intriguing to see them. And I'd like to know like in depth of each one and how you came about it, like what happened that forced you to come up with the system.
Right? Like this is all pretty much everything on here is all coming from paint. It's all paint. Like Kenny and Nora and I and watched the X-Men, the original one, and I didn't see it the first time I saw it. But he's got the claws that come out, Wolverine claws that come out, and the girl says, "Does it hurt every time?" And he's like, "It does," but he just has learned that's that's what it takes to go ahead. Yeah, the stories behind this stuff are just so cool, and they are kind of in order. Like you can see, like the roller coaster principle, this first one here. Like I was 20, I was 23, 24 years old, and we were seeing sales that were just going like they were up and down and up and down and her and so most all the salespeople were guys, men, young men my age. So they're, in their 20s, 30s, some are older, but most, very few women. And all the processors, they were all women. Um, and so I remember when I got promoted to a marketing manager, and I don't know, a month into that, when I got promoted into that position, the president came to me and said, "Hey, Mark, the sales aren't up," which I knew. And I was pretty ticked about it. And he says, "We're going to have to lay off one of the processors." Well, that's a woman, not on my watch. It's not going to happen. Like I'm 24, 25. It's like, I don't know. Like I'm responsible for sales. I said, "No, cut my pay. Like cut mine. I'm taking the hit." He's like, "Mark, you've only been in the position a month." I said, nobody's going to be laid off in my, yeah, not girl, a woman's not going down. Like, no. And he didn't. And that pressure that it put on me helped me to move. I mean, I was moving beforehand, but it's like, I have all these responsibilities. It's not just my wife and my children, but it's all these other people that I have responsibility over too. It's cool to have responsibility. Like you really, like it's really cool. Nora, anything you got?
I don't think so.
Becky, anything you got?
No, I don't think so.
Jen, anything you got?
I don't think so at the moment.
So, so the history of the company, I mean, I think that when we understand the history, what's gone before us and and the sacrifices and the work and the risks taken, I think that we appreciate what we have a lot more. And that's what it's all about. We're going to be moving into your voice in my headset here, but hopefully hopefully we'll get a little more structure, and you guys need to, because all future generations are going to see this, I think, I hope, and so you want to think about this and say, what can I do to get the most? Like, how do I pull it out? Like, how do I pull out what Mark has? Like, he's got all these stories. Again, just to be clear, not because he's old. He's got all these stories, all these experiences. Like, man, so exciting, so exciting.